You're gonna sit like this?
Huh? Oh my gosh. Because I'm like sitting crisscross applesauce on the back thing, but I'll probably...
Welcome to our Indo-American Environment Podcast Season 2. Today onwards we are going to discuss about various topics regarding both the continents, India as well as America. So today we are hosting Dawn. She's
Hello. Hi.
How are you? Kindly tell us about yourself.
So thanks for having me. This is fun and lovely. So I'm Dawn, and I am working on my PhD. It's on the spatial ecology of the Monocled Cobra, Nycalpia. So I'm actually based in Thailand, in the southern peninsula region, and I'm actually on the island of Koh Phangan. And so I interact with humans. Like there's a lot of tourist industry here, so everything is getting demolished and things are getting built up. So it's interesting to see. It's interesting to look at and what they encounter. From a scientific people tend to overreact about it, and though snake bites happen on accident, it is not nearly at the rate as anywhere else in Southeast Asia or India or any of those different areas.
So, welcome to our Indo-American Environment Podcast Season 2. Today onwards we are going to discuss about various topics regarding both the continents, India as well as America. These two sides of the world contain similar kind of landscape, some sort of similar kind of carnivore and major taxa. So we have similar problems, and maybe we can help each other finding the solutions sustainably for the better future of our populations. So today we are hosting Dawn. She is PhD candidate from USA, but she is pursuing her field work in Asia. So let's welcome her, and then I'll request her to properly introduce herself to our viewers.
Hello. Hi.
How are you? Kindly tell us about yourself.
So thanks for having me. This is fun and lovely. So I'm Dawn, and I am working on my PhD. It's on the spatial ecology of the Monocled Cobra, Nycalpia. So I'm actually based in Thailand, in the southern peninsula region, and I'm actually on the island of Koh Phangan. And so I've been documenting the species here and traipsing through the jungle, following monocled cobras to see where they go and how they interact with human. Like there's a lot of tourist industry here, so everything is getting demolished and things are getting built up. So it's interesting to see. It's interesting to look at from a scientific perspective, I guess.
So you mean for the layman, we may say you are a goddess of snakes, and you travel all the way from US to Thailand.
I'm at Suvarnabhumi University of Technology, which is in northeast of Bangkok province called Nakhon Ratchasima. It's the second largest province in Thailand, actually. So it's a pretty big university. I think it's the largest university in Southeast Asia, actually. I mean, not population-wise, but campus-wise.
So what motivates you to move to Thailand to work instead of since I know US got many large snake species, reptile snakes are there, you have problem with snakes in Florida, especially the alien species, invasive species. But what motivates you to come to Thailand and do your research work?
Well, one, I like to work with snakes because they're the underdog. They're the underdog of the reptile world, and they're often persecuted for no good reason at all. Moving to Thailand, I did a small mini project about 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago now, and I fell in love with the culture and the research station. I was based in Nakhon Ratchasima and near Wang Nam Kiao. It's a mountainous area, it's like right between there and Bangkok. And it was gorgeous. It was a man in the biosphere UNESCO run area. It's really, really nice. And I really fell in love with it. The diversity here is much different than in the United States. The United States, it just doesn't have the same type of species, obviously, because of terrain and weather and climate and all that kind of stuff. But there's such a huge diversity here. It's actually considered a bio hotspot. So it offered me more opportunities to do the things that I want to do. Snake bite mitigation isn't a huge thing in the United States. The only thing is to stamp out the ignorance surrounding the species and what they encounter. Most people tend to overreact about it, and though snake bites happen on accident, it is not nearly at the rate as anywhere else in Southeast Asia or India or any of those different areas. One, the encounter. I mean, more snakes, more encounters. That's just makes sense. And so what I wanted to do was more available to me here. So that's one of the reasons that I came.
Oh. Great. Wonderful. So tell me one more thing. Do you feel, since how many years you are in Thailand?
Oh, wow. I am 5 years now. 5 years. I've been on the island for 3. I was at the station for 2. So 5. Yeah.
Okay. 5 years. Continuously staying here. Or do you visit your family back in US?
I will be going at the beginning of May, and I'll go for a few days, and then I haven't been back for 2 years. I was 2 years ago around December is when I went back the last time. It's very difficult to travel back and forth. It's very, very expensive. So also the more trips that I take, the less I have to fund research and the less I have to do the things that I need to do. And when I say need, I mean like specifically need. It seems frivolous to spend thousands and thousands of dollars just for a week of spending another few $1,000s because everything is so expensive. So I would rather hunker down and get this done and go forward.
Yeah, that's like very well known notion that Asia is quite more cheaper than most of the places in the world. Is it true, right?
It is, yeah.
So that's one reason. And tell me, what sort of difference? I'm sure you might have found a lot of differences between the education system or the quality of research work happening in US or in Asia. So since considering you for the podcast is my number one choice since the beginning, because when we talk about India and Thailand, there are quite similarity between the education system and the way they get Thai people and Indians, they study the sort of hardcore work they do, and the lifestyles are the same. Problem related to natural disasters and things like that are almost similar. And since you're American, you're studying in this country, I'm sure you can answer me something logical. What sort of differences you have seen throughout these years in the system of Thai universities as well as in US, back in US?
I think the biggest difference that I've noticed is not like it would have to be the devotion to the lab versus the devotion to the field.
Okay. Can you elaborate? Please elaborate this.
As far as the similarities between India and Thailand and education, very, very doctor and engineer driven. Both countries are very doctor and engineer driven.
True. So true.
Biology things, there are the biological sciences that they study, but for the most part, the majority is you're either a doctor or an engineer. And that's very much the same thing here. Every once in a while, I'll encounter somebody in a totally different field, and I'm just like, oh, wow, hey, where'd you come from? Because I didn't even know they offered those classes. So that's very similar. I don't know in relation to India, and you'll be able to help with that one, but as far as here, there's a very strong affinity to the lab. So doing any of the microparticle work, not micro part of it, but microcellular work. So any type of DNA analysis or blood analysis or things like that, anything that has to be run through the lab or tests like that, that's actually one of the things that they prefer. So coming out into the field in the heat and having to carry the pack, there's not as many people interested in that.
In US?
No, here in Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit more,
Okay.
it's a little bit more lab oriented.
Lab oriented.
Yeah, yes.
Really?
But as far as content and understanding the processes and things like that, they're very similar. That's, I think, the very nice thing about science and mathematics is a lot of that is very similar. As long as you have good methods and ethics, I think you'll find that you can jump in just about anywhere with this kind of stuff if you understand. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is it's the methods and the ethics. That's the only thing that really varies. Like the contents, the methodology of trying to figure out the answer to a question, those are relatively similar. And so, yeah, I would say lab mostly.
Okay. So you have observed that in Asia or Thailand, people mostly lab-oriented research work is happening rather than the field work. Okay, but I respectfully, I would like to, maybe oppose this fact or deny that, because I'm a field biologist myself, and I have seen people in India, they're field oriented mostly, and sometimes we strongly feel that we are not really converting that field data into lab work. We usually, since last 10 years, actually, we felt it, India is leading the conservation efforts throughout the world. Let it be reintroduction biology, tigers, we were the first in the world for successful reintroduction, and then, everything happened in the field. Then we did the gore. Before that, we had with the rhinos, and then, deer species, ungulates. Now cheetah, the big debatable topic here, which it's totally, field oriented work, and managing forests, you cannot be in the lab all the time. You have to be, in the field. So maybe India and Thailand have some sort of, differences here, if I say. Have you been to India before?
Yes, I'm going by what I see in the school as far as education goes. There is a heavier preference towards the lab in the education area of things. That's just what I found. Once you're in the field, the people that I encounter in the field, both here and India, are passionate about what they do. But that's not what you're seeing in the university at all. If you're in the university, it's completely different. There's a handful of people. I agree with you. There are a handful of people that are dedicated and they're troopers and they're out there doing everything that they can to do the best that they think is there. The difference between Thailand and India that I've noticed is, as far as education goes, is yes, India is 1000% fantastic at conservation. There are some of the strictest wildlife regulations
Laws.
and
Yeah.
laws and rules and
24, right?
extra rules and all the stuff. However, you still have people coming in touching snakes they're not supposed to be touching and getting bitten, and you still have
Yes.
people. So yes, the laws are there, but where's the enforcement?
Let me interrupt you here. I think we are that's the two different topics. People, conflict and research work, field, and we are discussing about this. We're coming to this topic later.
I think the field research work comes from people going out and doing it and learning on their own. It's not necessarily coming from other things. Does that make sense? Like,
Maybe.
for instance, I know of only 1 or 2 projects that people can intern and get good field experience in different areas. With most of them are like, I say pay to play, but most of them, need something to get provided that education, right? You have to pay to participate in the program to do whatever it is that you're doing. But none of the education comes naturally. So if you go on a snake rescue or you do something, you always have that threat of the law says you're not allowed to touch this. And if you get caught touching it, you're in big trouble. So you, as a wildlife biologist, likely follow those particular rules. The trouble that I have are when people then break them. So there's all these good enforcements there. But what I see as an outsider is there's still a lack of understanding about the basic creatures that live in and around areas. And there's no way to really get that information out because using a live creature is a no-go, where the difference here in Thailand, those education opportunities are almost too much. Not that the education opportunities are too much, but I was watching a video of some people that were teaching others how to handle king cobras. And that was made available for everybody in the community. That was made available and though I know that those things take place in India, it seems like they're a little bit more prevalent, where pictures and touching and redoing things and all of that is totally okay. Whereas in India, you would do an education situation, but it wouldn't necessarily be with an actual animal that they can see or touch or have an understanding for. They're still doing that rote learning from book, picture, something like that, without really getting into it. Now, there are some places that do, but those are the 2 biggest differences. I find your hands are tied educating the community, where here they are not, I guess is the big.
Okay. I got your point. Yeah. Okay. You mean, in nutshell, if I understand your point, you wanted to say that in Thailand, the laws are quite softer as compared to India, right?
I think so. We have a lot of protected species. And I just but I feel like though they are protected, you can engage with those creatures in an educational setting because they know that it's for education, and somebody with the proper permits and somebody with the proper handling knowledge can then do that. Where it seems a little bit different in India. It seems a little bit more difficult to have that connection with the wildlife you want them to appreciate. Where on a daily basis, I can just pull over because I need to help a snake across the road, and people will stop and I will show them. And I have no worries that what I've done is wrong or bad or anything like that, where I don't think that's the same there. So that would be the only difference that I would notice.
But now, few years back it was similar in India, but now since last couple of years, most of the snakes are in protective category nowadays. You cannot do the road shows and something like that in India. Laws are stricter when we consider snakes. So most of them are scheduled now. So yeah, I'll move to my next question about snake bites. Do USA have the similar kind of snake bite cases? I know there is rattlesnake kind of a festival happens there where you kill them.
Oh, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Thank heavens.
Okay.
So let's move to the next question. I have this thing. If you have to do PhD in USA on your own funding, so how expensive it may get for American citizen?
University. Oh, if I were to go to the USA to do to PhD, I'm not 100% sure because each university has different requirements. So, depending on what it is that you're doing, most universities in the United States, you will be teaching. You'll be working on your PhD, but you'll be teaching some class, whether it's a 101 class or a lab or something like that. So it's a little bit different. So you have a way in which to at least have like a stipend to survive while you're doing your internship, but you're teaching and sort of earning that money. Here, as a foreigner, I am not allowed to work. So technically I am not allowed to work. Therefore, I'm sort of beholden to whatever I had in savings, whatever income I have, maybe that I have like a passive income in the United States, or I do some teaching in the United States. That income is slightly different than anything that I would do here or am not allowed to do here. And everything is kind of driven by grants. So one of the first things that even my professor asked was, how are you going to support yourself? Because you're going to be here for a while. How are you going to support yourself? So that's always a constant wonder. Some of my grants are tied to publication. And if those deadlines are missed, then that grant funding can get revoked, and even asked for repayment. So it is a little bit different here. Yeah.
Okay.
That's.
So your PhD is well funded, right?
Did you say my PhD is well funded?
Yes.
Definitely not.
No.
Okay. So how you meet your ends?
I had to pay back a grant because I missed my publishing deadline.
Wow.
The university wouldn't extend the extension I needed for publication. It has been accepted. I haven't gone through the next round of revisions, but I'm at least through the beginning stage processes. So we'll see. I don't think I get it back, but yeah. So
let's talk about, okay, now you missed your guideline and then you're facing the wrath of the funding agencies. Tell me one thing, is it that hard in US also?
As far as I know, yes. I think everybody's fighting for the same grants, especially when you're looking at herpetology. Anything that has to do with, I guess frogs might be a little bit more glamorous, but with snake research and things, people don't always necessarily see the importance of them. They see them as this villain in the forest, and they're not as majestic as an elephant and cute as the panda and cuddly as whatever. Or, I mean, I think that we're lucky because they're medically significant most of the time. Most of the snakes that I deal with at any rate are medically significant. If it's endangered, you got a way in. If it's medically significant, you have a way in. But just because you think something's really cool, somebody's going to be like, no, sorry, there's an endangered species that needs more help. And so I've been denied I've never gotten the Save the Snakes grant or the Live Alongside Wild grant, despite the fact that all I do is literally save the snakes from people all the time and actually live alongside wild and teach the community how to live alongside wild. So it is very competitive. It is very difficult to get funding. There's little funding.
Okay, so these fundings are from US.
Those two grants are, I believe, yep. But then even like there's one that's from somewhere. Is it the Al-Fayed grants? But they want something endangered. If it's not an endangered species or at least like severely threatened, usually it needs to be an endangered species. So there are some big grants out there. And of course there's Nat Geo and stuff like that, but they seem to Nat Geo loves India.
Yeah. I have few friends, those are, Nat Geo Explorer, and they get funding.
I would love it if Nat Geo loved Thailand, but Nat Geo loves India.
You should come to India and start working here. As you said, many Indian researchers and scientists and students, whatnot. Those are in the conservation field. So, what sort of difference you see between India and USA in terms of laws and their enforcement for the protected species? If you can just explain this in a very very nutshell.
Things are very, 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 very protected in India. I feel like things are protected in the United States, but not to the level that they are in India. I mean, they still do rattlesnake roundups. There's no protection on a rattlesnake, despite the fact that their numbers have been compromised based on needless killing every single year. And despite the education and the information that's out there, they still have a couple different areas that they still do this. So they go out, I don't know if you're familiar with it, I'm sure that you are being in conservation, but they go out and collect all the snakes and they pour acid or start burrows on fire and they string them up, and the kids are all excited about the fact that they're going to skin the snake and make boots or whatever. And it's quite a disgusting practice, but all within the law. They can literally do that for the public and put it anywhere they want to, and it's right there. No one's getting in trouble for it. There's no law against it that I'm aware of, but I'm also not from Texas, so my guess is there's no law. They'll probably be able to contribute more to that. Unfortunately, I've been away from it for so long that anything that I ever did with anything was there was never anything that I needed to worry about. I was either well under the university when we were doing things, or just doing things in my own backyard. I lived in an area that had a nice strip of natural forest and stuff, so I would get a pygmy rattlesnake every once in a while, and little things like that. So we had timbers and stuff. So,
Dawn, would you recommend anyone from states to come and do research work in Asia, India, Thailand, anywhere else?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. If you come with a strategic plan and understand, what you want to research, come spend a little time here and investigate what's going on over here, because there's a huge amount of wildlife and there's a huge amount of knowledge that can be gained. And I would recommend anybody from the United States to just travel outside the United States at some point to be immersed in a different culture, because it's not even about the knowledge you gain from being so intensely focused on your particular topic, but also the knowledge you gain from understanding things from somebody else's perspective. And that is the thing that is priceless with all of it.
Okay, and one more thing, America is not seen as a proper hero in this region. So many things are there. Yeah, so many things are there. And India, especially in India, we don't, in the governments and the policies don't see whites as, as wonderful people, to be very honest. That's why they need to get a lot of, that's because, the history of colonialism and everything. So in India, especially, we don't entertain white researchers or researchers from the Western side, not just whites, but anybody from the Western side. We don't really entertain them quite well, and they have to go through a lot of paperwork and procedures to do PhD in India. But I think in Thailand you don't face this kind of problems. So.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily whether it has anything to do with being from the Western world or not, but it was actually very intense. They don't like foreign researchers. They don't want anybody to take their stuff. Very similar to India. Because unfortunately we have set this ridiculous precedence that we're going to come in and just take whatever we think that we can. We found it. Doesn't matter if it's in your country. It's going to be ours now. So, we just discovered some new snake species that has some anticoagulant in it, and we've just made some medical breakthrough. The problem is people like to sneak that stuff out, and then they don't give credit to the Thai researchers or the Thai government or anything like that. So it actually took me a long time, almost 2 years, to write and rewrite and try for my permits. So the permissions that I got, it was very intense. It was a good 2-year long program. COVID came into play there a little bit, but for the most part, it is very, very difficult for foreign researchers to get access to the things that they need to get access to. And most of that is the protected area. They hold down their protected areas tight.
Yeah, so because we have seen it in back in 2000s, we have seen it when the US scientists have patented about neem and turmeric. So the medicine properties of neem and turmeric, they have patented about it, and then we had to fight them, and we got our rights back. And because turmeric and neem, these are the basic herbs we use in Indian kitchens and households since ages, and many more things that actually led to Indian government to establish a separate department of biodiversity, record maintaining, something like that. So we call it PBR. It's a biodiversity board, and there is a national body which rules and govern the other state bodies. So now since then we started documenting our native flora, which is having medicinal values, and it also gives some sort of benefits economically to the rural communities. So we started documenting this. I mean, thanks to US.
Glad something good came out of it.
And one last question: do outside American researchers are quite welcome in the States as compared to local researchers, and how often the local Americans, or the Americans are inclined towards research than the foreign students over there? Do a lot of American youth is inclined towards study, towards education, towards nature conservation, or what's the situation there?
In the United States, is conservation a popular thing? I think so. I think it's definitely on the lower end of things, but we definitely have more categories that people go to, like business, medicine, business, education, all of those kinds of things are big. Conservation, biology and conservation for sure. The thing is most biology and education jobs are a little bit lower on the totem pole as far as income goes. So people tend to want to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, things that are a little bit more higher on the pay hierarchy. Yes, higher on the pay hierarchy. I don't know if that makes sense, but
okay, yes.
Okay. So I think that they do. I think the biology department is split relatively evenly between those that are pre-med biology and then animal biology or conservation biology.
So I have so many questions, and I think one podcast is not enough. I would request you to stay tuned with us, and then we would like to do more recordings with you. Is it? I mean, yes. So
sure.
We will come up with some other topic. Now, due to time limitation, we need to end up this podcast. Thank you so much, Dawn, for being part of my podcast, and I hope students will get learn so many things from our podcast, be it American or Indian or Asian students. You have give insightful information, and you being so honest and clear about your thoughts. Thank you so much for being such a nice, noble soul and working for snakes. Those they can't vote, and I wish you best of luck for your PhD, and I hope you start visiting India more often, and maybe
Thank you.
Find something interesting here to work on.
Thank you. That would be awesome.
Thank you so much.
If I thought I could get permits, I would definitely do it.
Sure. We'll try towards that. Thank you so much, Dawn. So, thank you. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.